Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome and welcome back to Traditional Catholic Femininity. My name is Paige from Traditional Catholic from tradcatfem.com. If you're new here, welcome, and if you're returning here, welcome back. So in this video, I am going to give you some tips on what to do if a guy asks you to pay for a date that he is asking you on. Now, if you are the one who is asking a guy on a date, then since you want to be the man, you should pay for the date, for your portion and his portion, right? But if a guy is asking you for a date, he approached you and asked you for a date, and he's expecting you to pay for the date that he's asking you on, this video is going to give you some tips and advice on how to respond, how to react, and basically how to deal with a guy like this. So if you go on the dates, because the reason why I'm doing this video is because it's becoming so ridiculous right now. There are so many stories and women sharing their experiences of men who are treating them, trying to force them into being like sex workers. I take you out on a date and I expect a kiss, or I expect sex in return. No. You don't owe a guy a darn thing for him asking you out on a date. You don't have to do anything except go on a date and look pretty. That's it. Look pretty, be engaging. That's it. You really, literally do not have to offer your body, go to his house, have sex with him, even kiss him on a date. He's wooing you, he's courting you, he's dating you. But these men today, they're trying literally to normalize turning you into cheap sex workers, because at the end of the day, if a prostitute, if they had to go pay for sex, they're not looking for relationships. First of all, the men who do this, they are not looking for relationships. So don't think that if you go on a date and you pay for your coffee date, or you give in to sex in exchange for like a cheap meal, for God's sakes, that it's going to result into a relationship. A man who does this is not looking for a relationship. He's either looking to use you as a really, really cheap sex worker, or he's trying to exploit you for money. And those types of men you should never entertain with as a traditional Catholic feminine woman. So, I'm sorry. I was just checking in on the youngest. Still asleep. They're having a nap. I hope they stay that way until I finish my video. So anyway, but men today, they sort of normalize that, and it's now becoming so common that women are now thinking, oh, well, I just have to go and sleep with him, or I have to go to his house. First of all, don't go to any guy's house for a date. Ever. Until you're exclusive. And according to the stages of a Catholic courtship, I will link the article in the box below. According to the article, you should not be exclusive until at least 3 months, because you need that 3-month period to be assessing him, vetting him for red flags, and basically looking to see if he's a safe person. And even then, you shouldn't be having dates at his house. Go read the article. It will tell you the exact timeline when it is okay for you to go to a guy's house or for him to come to yours. So first of all, don't go to a guy's house for a date. Second of all, don't ever have sex with a guy for what? The price of a meal? Even sex workers charge higher, much more than whatever he spent on you for before they would give their bodies to him. So don't do it. And even if he pays £500 for a meal, you still don't have sex with him, because you went on that date on the expectation and assumption that it is a date, not a transactional, escort service thing. And that's so deceptive. They're so deceptive. So first of all, they're trying to normalize they're trying to basically groom and condition women into being cheap sex workers, or they try to groom and condition women into being okay with paying for the dates that they ask these women on. Oh, well, if I'm not going to get anything from you at the end of the day, then you're just going to have to pay for your portion of the date. And sadly, a lot of women are kind of falling for that trick. Well, I better, give him, even if I'm not going to see him again, I better sort of pay up and pay for my part of the date and, all that nonsense. Don't do it. So here is how you sort of deal with men who behave like this. Now, assuming he has approached you and he has asked you out on a date, and you go on the date, and at the end of the date or even during the date, the man asks you to pay 50-50 or to pay towards the date in any way, because he can tell or he's assuming that you're not going to put out for him or have sex with him or something. Here is what you tell him, and listen to this carefully, because you can adapt it as you will, but don't stray too far from the overall concept. But here is what you tell him. Oh, I agreed to this date that you asked me on under the expectation that as you approached me and you asked me on this date, you will be paying for it. Me paying for anything was not discussed or mentioned prior to me agreeing to this date. So, no, I do not think I will pay for this. And then you do not pay him a single penny. You see, men are transactional. Unfortunately, they are. So since they have a transactional mindset, you got to you've got to treat them or approach interactions with them like a contract. Even if it's not a written contract, it's a verbal contract. So here's what a verbal contract in this scenario looks like. The guy: hey, would you like to go on a date? I would like us to go for dinner. I would like us to go do XYZ. That's the proposal of the contract. And at this point of the contract, he hasn't said there are no conditions. He hasn't said anything about you paying, you doing this, you do that, you do. He just said, he's just asked you on a date. So you, based on the existing conditions of that contract, i.e., he's just asking you on a date, he has made no mention of money, or you paying for anything, or you having sex with him, or you going to his house, or any of that nonsense. So based on basically what he's just said, you going on a date with him to dinner or whatever, you agreed to that date. Now, you entered into that contract. It's not a contract, it's a verbal contract, but you've entered into that contract. Now, at no point does he get to alter the contract after you have agreed to it. Well, now I want XYZ. I'm sorry, you didn't mention this before I entered into the contract. Well, now you have to pay for the meal. Well, I'm sorry, you didn't mention this before I agreed to this transaction, to this contract with you. So you have to, because men, they're not stupid. They're quite smart, and they're very, very conniving. They are all human predators, right? So, and they treat everything as a transaction. They just don't tell you the conditions of the transaction. So you have to treat everything, because they're transaction. You are dealing not with a guy, not with a person who loves you or is attracted to you or is loving or who wants romance. No, their mindset is very, very transactional. every single one of them. So you have to approach any interaction with a guy. You have to approach it with like a contract, transactional type of mindset. Is this in the contract, in what he's saying? Am I agreeing to this contract with full knowledge? And whatever you agree to, he doesn't get to change it or alter it or demand more or anything like that, right? So you've gone on the date, and at the end, in between, he's asking you to pay any amount of money. You follow the instructions that I just gave you. You tell him exactly what I just said to you, and you do not pay him a single penny. Now, if you can, you should do this in a public place or at the restaurant. This is why you should never go to a man's house for a date. So you're in public, and if you're worried that he's going to kick off, right, or he's going to kind of make a fuss or kind of make it create a scene, you discreetly walk up to the staff of the restaurant and tell them you're feeling a little bit unsafe with this guy, and they need to watch over you just in case, and help you call a cab and discreetly let you know when the cab arrives, so that you can discreetly sneak out, right, under the guise of you going to the toilet or something, and you can get in your cab and go home. That's if the guy is dangerous or what have you. If the guy isn't, you don't feel he's dangerous or what have you, you can just, once you've told him the instructions that I just gave you, get your bag, you grab your coat, and you walk out. You end the date. It doesn't matter if he brings this up in the middle of the main course, the dessert. You pick up your bag. You say what I've just said to you that you should tell him. You pick up your bag, you grab your coat, and you walk out. Now, let's assume you drove to the date. You pick up your bag after you've told him what I said you should tell him. You pick up your bag, you grab your coat, you walk out, you go to your car, and you drive home. Now, if you're driving and you feel you are being followed, first of all, do the classic trick of checking if you're being followed, right? You look in your rearview mirror and you think a car is following you or something. You make 3 left turns, 3 right turns or 3 left turns, what have you. If he follows that pattern, you bring up the nearest police station and you drive straight there. You walk up to them, you tell them that you're being followed and you're worried and scared for your life. Most likely you may have a police escort drive you home, or they will tell you what to do next. They will keep you safe. Now, you've gotten home. Either you drove home, you got your cab, or you left, what have you. You've gotten home. What you do next regarding this guy is you pick up your phone and you block him. You block him everywhere. You unfriend him, block his messages, unmatch him. Basically any form of contact, any form of ways or avenues that he has to contact you, you block him everywhere. If he finds another way to contact you, you do not speak to him, you block him too. Don't explain a single thing, you just block him. Now, assuming the date ended and he didn't mention anything about money or you paying, but after the date ended, you've both gotten home, or let's say you are on your way home, he sends you a money request after the date via text. Oh yeah, can you pay me XYZ, blah blah blah. You send him the same response. You text him the same response, the instructions that I gave above. Right? I agreed to this date under the expectation that, seeing as you approached me and asked me for the date, you will be paying for the date. Me paying anything for this date was not discussed or mentioned prior to me agreeing to this date. So no, I do not think I will pay for this. So you send him that as a text response, and then you block him everywhere, just like I have mentioned. Sorry. And then you block him everywhere, just like I've just mentioned, right? Now, here's another scenario. If a guy asks you, he approaches you, whether in person or, via message, what have you, and he asks you on a date, and while he's asking you on a date, he is hinting or even asking and telling you that you will be paying for anything during that date, right? Any form of it. Make sure you say something like, can I just clarify that what you're telling me, that I will be paying for this date that you're asking me on? If he says yes or anything to that effect, you respond with, then I'm afraid I have to decline your offer of this date. No explanation whatsoever. You just tell him that, and then you block him everywhere. See, the reason men, or these types of men, are increasingly having the audacity to demand women pay for the dates that they are asking women on is because women are just simply folding and giving in and just handing over their money. Don't do that. You should set boundaries and expectations from the jump that when a man approaches you, asks you on a date, he is to pay for the dates that he asked you on. That is what dating and courtship is about. And if he has the temerity, the unmitigated gall to even insinuate or hint or mention that you will be paying before the date, you decline and you turn him down. This is the only way that women will stop this nonsense and epidemic of men expecting either sex or payment for a date. And it will also quickly filter out men who only want to use the process of dating or dating apps as a way to get constant, cheap access to sex with women that they will quickly use, dispose of, and move on to the next woman. So either they learn to date women properly again, or they can go pay for sex from the sex workers, or they can stay single. Period. Either way, you do not have to play into their little ridiculous game and their nonsense. Don't give your body, don't give your money. And that's it, honey. Did you like my rhyming that I did there? Right, okay, so that's the end of this video. I hope you guys are having a great Friday and enjoy your weekend and stay blessed, both you and your loved ones, in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Toodles.